Good afternoon, everyone. Call this meeting to order. I'm going to say that that's 2 o'clock because I think it's a few seconds short. It says 1:59 on the clock, but we're going to call this meeting to order at 2 o'clock. We are here as the Committee of Adjustment. We do have quorum in that we have all 5 committee members here, and we are here in the presence of our Secretary Treasurer and several other staff members. Welcome, everyone. Our first order of business is item 2 on our agenda, which is our land acknowledgement statement. The Township of Hamilton is situated within the traditional territory of the Mississauga, Anishinaabe, and Chippewa nations, collectively known as the Williams Treaties First Nations. Our work on these lands respectfully acknowledges their resilience and their long-lasting contributions to the area known as the Township of Hamilton. Item 3 on our agenda is the explanation of our process for today, and that's done by our staff. Jennifer Current, please.
Through you, Chairman Jib. We have 6 consent applications to be heard by the committee today. The applications will be announced and they will take place in order that they appear on the agenda. I will provide an explanation for each application and an overview. The meeting will then be opened up to the public for comments and questions. We request that any speakers provide their name and address for the record. We will first hear from those in support of an application, then those in opposition to the application, followed by those seeking clarification to the application, and finally the applicant. We request that you submit all of your questions through the chairperson. If you'd like to receive a copy of the notice of decision, please do so in writing or sign the registration sheet in the lobby. Please be sure to identify the application that you are requesting a copy of the decision for, because we do have several applications today.
Thank you, Jennifer. Our next item on our agenda is actually the motion to confirm the agenda. And the prepared motion reads that the agenda for the Committee of Adjustment meeting held on April 14th, 2026 be approved. Could I have a mover and a seconder, please? Moved by Mark, second by John. Any questions or comments? All those in favor? Carried. Thank you. Item 5, declarations of pecuniary interest. 5.1. Are there any declarations of pecuniary interest today? Seeing none, that will be recorded. Item 6, approval of our minutes of our previous meeting. Prepared motion reads that the minutes of the Committee of Adjustment meeting held on March 10th, 2026 be approved. Could I have a mover and a seconder, please? Moved by John, seconded by Bruce. Questions or comments? All those in favor? Carried. Thank you. There is no business arising from those previous minutes, so we move on to new business, and there are no minor variances today, which are normally dealt with in advance to the consents. So we'll move on to the consent portion, item 9 on our agenda, and our first consent, as well as several others, and I'm assuming that the planning reports will all be similar or identical in nature. So we'll be receiving one planning report. We will, however, though, need to make separate motions on each file application. So if you would, Jennifer, consent B0126, and that's in the Linmac Inc. name, and we see that we have a representative here today. Jennifer, if you would, with the planning reports, please.
Certainly, through you, Chairman Jib. I'm going to be discussing planning applications B0126, B0226, B0326, and B0426. They all pertain to the same property, which is located in part of lot 23, concession 5, on the west side of Mulder Road, and the property is owned by Linmac Inc. Now, these applications, there are 3 applications for severance that propose to create separate lots, separate rural residential lots, and 1 lot addition application. B01, 02, and 03 are all applications that would create a new rural residential lot. while application B0426 will create a severed parcel for the purposes of a lot addition, adding that land to a developed residential lot. So the applications for severance for the rural residential lots are creating lots that are 1.8 hectares, and they would have 80 meters of frontage and 160 meters of depth on Mulder Road. The existing property is 30.31 hectares, and as I mentioned, it's located in lot 23, concession 5. I think I've made a mistake here. I apologize. It's 1.28 hectares, not 1.8. I missed a digit in my planning report. I apologize. So the lot addition lands are going to add 0.6 hectares to the developed property located at 7946 Bethel Grove Road. So there's a copy of the applicant severance sketch, which is up on the monitors right now, that shows the severed lots on Mulder Road and the lot addition lands that will go onto the property developed on Bethel Grove Road. Now, there is a hydro easement that crosses the subject property, and with the lot addition lands, so the 0.6 hectare lot addition lands, the recipient parcel is serviced by hydro coming from or off of that hydro easement that traverses the subject property. So by adding the land to the developed residential property, the owner will now own the land directly to the hydro easement and giving them direct access to the hydro instead of having to go through the easement that's on the property. So they'll have direct ownership of the property that abuts the hydro easement. The other 3 lots on Mulder Road will be severed rural residential lots. Each will be, if approved, will be eligible for a residential building permit. Now there is or are 2 livestock barns on the property, and they traverse the property boundary of the northern 2 lots. One of the barns is in pretty rough shape. It's a wooden structure. It's in fairly rough shape. There's another barn there that is a concrete barn that we have not yet declared in that it could not house livestock. Anyways, so as part of the review of severance applications, you have to comply with what's called the minimum distance separation criteria or guidelines developed by the province to ensure that buildings or residential buildings and sensitive land uses are far enough away from livestock facilities. This property, 2 of the residential lots will actually be created on the location of the livestock barns. And as such, one of the recommended conditions is that the livestock buildings be demolished so that the consents can proceed. Otherwise, they would not meet the MDS setback requirements for those facilities. So the property is located in a rural area. There is evidence by the barns that has been previously used for agricultural purposes. If we go back in the air photos, there was evidence that 2018, I believe it is, of the barns being used to house cattle. Surrounding land uses are a combination of larger agricultural parcels and smaller rural properties. There are a couple smaller rural residential properties in the general area, and the property is traversed by watercourses that have been identified as tributaries to Gages Creek, and portions of the property are regulated by Ganaraska Region Conservation Authority. The provincial planning statement contains policies that permit residential development in rural areas, provided the lots are a suitable size to accommodate the necessary services. The PPS or provincial planning statement also contains policies regarding natural heritage resources, development in natural hazard areas. The water courses would be considered a natural heritage feature, and there is a floodplain associated, which would be a natural hazard area. The severed lots are located outside of the floodplain, so that's outside of the natural heritage area and outside of the buffer for natural heritage feature, so a environmental impact assessment was not required for the severances. Now, the properties are located within 300 meters of the water course and under the provincial screening criteria for archaeological resources, properties within 300 meters of a water course exhibit a high potential or have a high potential for archaeological resources. And as such, one of the recommendations is that an archaeological assessment be required, and this has been added as a condition of consent. The applicant has 2 years to fulfill the conditions of consent, which would include the archaeological assessment. So provided the requirement for the archaeological assessment is included as a condition of consent, the applications are consistent with the provincial planning statement. I will say, though, that we did not include the requirement for an archaeological assessment for the lot addition lands because those lands are being added to a developed residential lot and there's no development that is anticipated on those severed lot lands. The property is not located in the Oak Ridges Moraine, therefore the Oak Ridges Moraine Conservation Plan doesn't apply. The Northumberland County official plan identifies the property as rural areas and permits residential development in accordance with the provisions of the township's official plan. And as I mentioned earlier, the township official plan designates these lands rural, and residential lot creation is permitted in the rural designation. The official plan allows for a maximum of 3 residential severances for properties with a minimum lot area of 0.4 hectares from an existing property as it existed on October 21st, 2003. There have been no previous residential severances from this property. With these 3 severances, the retained parcel would not be eligible for any additional residential severances in the future. So both the proposed severed and retained parcels are appropriately shaped and sized to accommodate the required services. The 1.28 hectare severed lots are ample to create or construct a single detached dwelling, private septic, and a well on the property on each of the properties. And the retained parcel is quite large, and similarly somebody would be able to build a house on that property as well. So the subject property is zoned marginal agriculture and environmentally sensitive areas in the Township of Hamilton zoning bylaw. The marginal agriculture zone permits a variety of uses, mostly agriculturally related. The minimum lot area and frontage requirements are 2 hectares and 60 meters respectively. The proposed retained lot will meet those lot requirements and doesn't need to be rezoned, but the rural residential lots will need to be rezoned to the rural residential zone, which permits a dwelling on a lot with a minimum lot area of 0.4 hectares and 45 meters of frontage. So each of the proposed 3 severed new residential lots will comply with the rural residential zone provisions. There's an environmentally sensitive areas zone overlay on the subject property. It's generally applies to those lands that are within the GRCA or Ganaraska Region Conservation Authority regulated area, and it will remain in effect. The application was circulated to a number of agencies. Ganaraska Region Conservation Authority commented that the subject property is traversed by tributaries to Gages Creek and that portions of the property fall within the regulatory floodplain associated with those water courses. They had no objection to the applications because the proposed new severed lots are located outside of the GRCA regulated area. Hamilton Township Public Works commented that an entrance permit will be required for the new residential lots, and they had no objections. Hamilton Township Building Department had no objection to the application. Hamilton Township Fire Department had no objection to the application. And Northumberland County commented that the severances are within the county's rural area and are of a sufficient size to accommodate private water and wastewater servicing. So they had no concerns with the proposed severances. Notice of the application was circulated to all registered landowners within 60 meters of the property on March 31st, and a sign was posted on the property on March 26th. I received one telephone inquiry regarding the livestock facilities on the subject property. There's an adjacent property, well, it's on the opposite side of the road that has special zoning. It's marginal agriculture 22, which requires a 203.61 meter setback from the livestock facility on the property. The property owner was wondering if the barns are demolished, does that MDS setback still apply? And the answer is no, it doesn't apply anymore because the livestock barns aren't there, so that conflict no longer exists. I received one other request for a notice of decision to be circulated to an adjacent property owner, and no other public comments have been received. So the proposed severed lot is lots are located in a rural part of the municipality outside of the Oak Ridges Moraine on Mulder Road and Bethel Grove Road. Both are year-round municipally maintained roads. While there's a natural hazard feature on the subject property, the proposed severed lots are located outside of that hazard area. And both the proposed severed and retained lots are adequately sized to accommodate the required private services. An MDS calculation was prepared for the on-site livestock barns or livestock facilities, and they will have to be demolished for the proposed severances to proceed because otherwise they wouldn't comply with the MDS guidelines. And since there's the proposed severed lots are located within 300 meters of a water course and has largely been undisturbed, an archaeological assessment is required and has been added as a condition of consent.
Jennifer has previously indicated our process of going to the audience and asking for anyone who's interested in the application. It is noted that the agent applicant is with us and will be provided an opportunity to speak in a few minutes. Is there anyone in the audience other than the applicant that is in support of this application? This is your opportunity to speak to the application. Seeing none, is there anyone here present in opposition to the application? Sir, please come to the center microphone, and we would ask you to state your name and your address. And before any of that starts, we need to ensure that that microphone is on. Great. Please proceed.
My name is Jesse Bond. I own the property just to the north west of this 3796 Kennedy Road. I'm here with concerns about the appeal to sever the property. Over the last couple of years, since we moved in about 2022, it's been a beautiful farm agriculture area. With the changes in that, I'm already concerned with the road infrastructure on Mulder Road. Year after year since we moved in, the town has continuously, filled potholes with gravel, dumped gravel on the road with repairs every single year. That's been running into our property, continuous dust and poor air quality in the air over the last couple of years because of this, as well as poor drainage into our yard. And I'm just wondering if there's any initiative or plans to change that if we're going to be adding construction vehicles, years of heavy machinery deliveries to this property to sever it into 3 residential homes. That's already caused everyone in the area poor air quality, damage to houses and vehicles with stones and rocks coming up over the last couple of years, and also with the destruction of the barns in the back area. I'm worried it's going to start to change the property development in the back, or the property land, as it's a very wet land now. It's got a lot of live wildlife in the area, where I believe years of construction is going to decrease that in already kind of a fragile state that it is now. I just wondered if you guys had any plans with the appeal to sever it to help change the road or permanently fix the problems that are already there.
I will respond to that and I'll send it on to others as well. Just before I start to respond, could you state your exact location again? You're on Kennedy?
Yeah, 3796 Kennedy Road, which is just the corner lot of Mulder and Kennedy, which
Okay.
is just directly attached to that property.
I got you. You're showing up here as part 4 of 39R 505, I think it is. This committee today is dealing with the creation of the lots through the severance, through the consent process. A number of your concerns are roads related, obviously. You speak of dust, you speak of maintenance, you speak of runoff.
Correct.
Even though we are council reps here as the community of adjustment, we're not really dealing with those issues today.
Okay.
But I will say that what we would ask you to do, and I'll certainly turn this over to any other committee members or staff members, what we would ask you to do is send us some type of notification email or written letter identifying those things that you have, the runoff, the pot filling, the dust. And those are things that would be sent to our roads department to address.
Okay.
I'm going to stop there because that's my knee-jerk thought to your concerns. I'm going to stop there and I'm going to open it to any other committee member or any other staff member. Our roads people aren't with us today. We have other departments with us, but not our roads. Would anyone else like to bounce onto my response, even correct my response if anyone thinks it's wrong? Okay, I guess I'm your response to that.
Okay.
Notify us, other than the committee of adjustment. I realize the trigger point. I understand your concerns. Notify us to Hamilton Township Council, to Public Works and Infrastructure Committee, Roads Superintendent, Roads Manager, whatever the right title is, or through our CAO's office, and we will look at those things.
Okay.
We hope we're not putting gravel in those potholes. I hope it's an asphalt tar mix. It's designed to do that job. So we'll look at that for you. Yes.
Thank you.
Is there anything else that you wanted to bring to our attention that
I
maybe
know
we could send you to the right department at the right time?
I know you guys, just to bring up that I heard it was 2018 that you guys had, I guess, gathered that was the last time that barn was being worked as a cattle barn. We moved in 2022 and it was only about 2 years ago that cattle was removed from that lot. So up until then, it was a working barn. The one barn is in rough condition, but the concrete barn was used daily. Just for some further information for that appeal to destroy those barns.
I guess I'm going to respond to that again. I think I have the history. This property was previously owned by a fellow by the name of Murray Archer, who passed away.
Yep.
He lived on Dale Road by Williamson Road, and he used this as a summer ranch for his cattle. When he was ill and passed on, the property got rented out, and Robert and Brian Taylor used it for some of their livestock, which they had actually acquired from Murray in the previous years. So Murray's son, family, estate sold the property. Although I don't know exactly when that occurred, it obviously has occurred to the Linmac Inc. group. And that's possibly where you'll see a difference in when it was last used for livestock. My best understanding of the community and what I know of the farming area around us. I hope I haven't said anything incorrect. Jennifer, do you want to fix something I said wrong?
No, I just want to clarify that when in reviewing the aerial photography, the 2018 photo showed that there were livestock there. That didn't mean that was the last time that there were livestock there. The 2023 air photo did not illustrate any livestock being there, but the 2018 did. So that was just an observation in the review of the aerial photography for the area.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Is there anyone else in the audience that would like to speak in opposition to this application? Is there anyone in the audience that would like to speak in respect to clarification? Please, because we videotape this, we do need you to come forward. Ensure the microphone's on. State name and your address, please. Whoop, microphone on. Julia, are we good or not so good?
There we go.
Okay, name and address if you would, and then the floor is yours.
My name is Rick Evers. I live on 3804 Kennedy Road. I'm Jesse's neighbor. We both back onto this, and yes, there were cows back there a few years ago. But my question, I just looking at some of the notices I got in your map. You say the lots are 1.78 on two of them, and your other lot says 1.28. So what size are they?
I apologize for the mistake. They are 1.28 hectares,
Okay, all three of them.
all three. And the proposed lot addition lands are 0.6 hectares.
No. And we basically have the same issues. I mean, we're neighbors. We both back onto this property. There's a lot of live animals, wildlife with that pond that is there. Right now, we got geese and duck in there. And I'm not sure where or how much the fourth, like the main foot of the main property, how much land they're retaining before you start severing, like from Kennedy Road.
The retained lot shows up on the map in front of me.
But the road frontage on
Road
Mulder
frontage.
Road before you start hitting the,
The north limit of the north lot is 200 meters south of the north lot line of the subject property.
200
200 meters, and I'm stretching a little bit. I think it's 198.6 meters. So easy math for me, 200 meters south of the north lot line, which is the pond area that you speak of.
right, yeah. All right. And I did have concerns, but about the whole wildlife nature, but as you say, I know Oak Ridge is marine to the north of me, and that it's all outside the Ganaraska, so you answered those questions. Thank you.
Thank you. Coming back to the audience, anyone else would like to speak to this application from a clarification perspective? Seeing no one further, we'll move on. Mr. Macklin, obviously we recognize you. You are the applicant, you are the agent. Would you like to speak to these, this or these applications? Thank you. Turning to committee members. Any questions from committee? I have one, so please don't bounce on too fast for motions. Any questions? Jennifer, just for clarification, I'm thinking that it might be beneficial to just speak of that natural heritage evaluation. And the distance that a proposed lot is to that stream is in fact 300 meters, triggering that, not 300 feet.
Okay, there's two separate things. There is a setback required for an archaeological study, which is 300 meters from a water course. Yes, and it's 300 meters, not 300 feet. And the water course is also considered a natural heritage feature. and under provincial policy, lands within a certain distance of a natural heritage feature, you may require an environmental impact study. And that distance is 120 meters. And the proposed severed lots are located farther. I believe the minimum distance is 160 meters. So they didn't require an environmental impact study because they are outside of the 120-meter influence area from a natural heritage feature for an environmental impact study, but they are within the required 300-meter area for an archaeological study.
Hopefully that didn't confuse, but rather clarified. Thank you. Larry?
So I make a motion to approve this application, all 4 applications. I think about
We're in a position that we have to make 4 separate motions. So what we're asking for at this point in time is a motion on B0126 only.
Okay, and so I motion to approve this application.
Thank you. Is there a seconder? Mark? Any further questions or comments? Okay, motion to approve. It's on the floor. All those in favor? Carried. Thank you. And the reasons are going to be the same for all 4 applications. Would you like us to go through that individually or once at the beginning or end?
I can give you that.
Try Mark. Microphone issue here.
Okay, we'll get clarification for the reasons at the end of all 4 applications because they will be the same for all of them, I am assuming. And I just want to clarify that you are moving the applications or you're approving the applications, including the conditions as outlined in the planning reports.
Yes.
Okay, I don't know, just, okay.
It's already lost one eye, so.
Yeah. Okay, so we got a move, we got a second. Did we get it voted on? Okay, all those in favor of the motion? Carried, thank you. Okay, moving on to B0226. The prepared motion is to approve with the conditions. Do we have a mover and a seconder for that? Moved by Larry, seconded by Bruce. Any follow-up questions or comments? John, question?
I can just say it loud enough.
But not for the video, John.
Yeah, okay. Sorry about that. I just have a question, just to refresh my memory. When the Ganaraska says they traverse tributaries to Gages Creek and portions of the property fall within the regulatory floodplain, which property is it that actually encroaches on that floodplain?
The retained parcel, they've concluded that their recommendations, their comments were that the proposed severed parcels are not regulated by GRCA. So they're outside of the regulated area. So it's the retained parcel.
Good, thank you.
Any follow-up questions? It may be us that's destroying our own microphones. There's only so many on at any point in time. So if you're not in use, please ensure they're off. Maybe we got an issue back here with one as well. Thank you. Okay, no follow-up questions. Been moved, seconded. All those, we got Larry as a mover. Who'd we get as a seconder? Bruce. We've had follow-up questions. All those in favor? Carried. Thank you. Okay, we're moving on to B0326. Mover and a seconder. Moved by Larry, seconded by Mark. Any questions or comments? All those in favor? Carried, thank you. Okay, B 0426. We have a mover and a seconder. It's approved with conditions identified in the report. Moved by John, seconded by Larry. Any follow-up questions or comments? All those in favor? Carried, thank you. Okay, so Jennifer, we got different movers, different seconders. Conditions have been identified in each of them. The conditions are all the same. Would you like committee members to identify those conditions or simply accept the fact that they're the conditions set forward in each of the respective reports? Larry's saying he's in agreement. Are all other committee members in agreement? All right, thank you. We're moving on to a new property. We're moving on to Larry, yes?
We should make clear that there's no objections from the public and that any concerns that were raised were answered by both the committee and the senior planner with regards to the MDF and the barn demolition.
Well, we did have an objector present stating the components of his objection. I responded to that and said, we can best deal with that at a different level than the committee. I'll turn to staff and say, are we correct in saying there is no objector as Larry has brought forward?
No, we had somebody at our public meeting that raised concerns with respect to the application. What we can say is that the committee heard the concerns, recommended that the objector approach council with written correspondence regarding their concerns dealing with the roads issues primarily. Most of the concerns were, I wrote them down here, had to do with road infrastructure, holes, dust, poor air quality, drainage, road damage. They also had concerns about the loss of beautiful agricultural area and degradation to the, however, those are outside of the, yeah, it was an objection, but it wasn't something that the committee can address.
So we probably should reword slightly that we did have a person making an objection, and those objections were heard by the committee, as you said, and that we have recommended that we deal with those at a staff roads level. Is that not our best summary of what's actually taking place here today? Okay. All right. So are we now, anybody else got any thoughts or comments on the Lindmac property? Okay, so we'll move on to B 0526, being a consent application in the Irwin family name. Jennifer, could I turn it over to you, please, for the planning report?
Through you, Chairman Gibb. This is a consent application, but it's not a consent application for the creation of a new vacant or developed rural residential lot. It's for the creation of an easement. The benefiting parcel is developed, has frontage on, sorry, I forget the name of the roads. Doyle and Alberts Alley. It has frontage on both of those roads, and it is developed with a single detached dwelling, and it is serviced with hydro from the subject property, which is the property immediately to the west of the property. When they were building their house, they ran hydro from the Irwin parents' property to Clay Irwin's house. And rather than going down Doyle and Albert's Alley, there was difficulty getting hydro down. It doesn't come along the frontage, and there's a lot of heavy vegetation along the road. So they brought hydro down from the property to the west. With this easement application, it will provide direct legal access for the benefiting parcel to the hydro on the subject property. So we're not creating a separate lot. We're creating an easement that will provide a right of way to the benefiting parcel. So no new development per se will be permitted with this application. The subject property, that is the property on which the easement will be located, is developed with a large garage, and there is a house that's under construction at this point in time. I don't know, it looks pretty livable to me by now, but I don't think they have occupancy, but it's significantly underway. It's a large property with frontage on Jib Road, where I mentioned that the benefiting parcel has frontage on Albert's Alley and Doyle Road. So the purpose of the application is just to create an easement over the lands over which the hydro service is provided to the benefiting parcel. The application is permitted under the provincial planning statement, the county official plan, the township's official plan. No zoning bylaw amendment will be required. There were no agency objections to the proposal. The public circulation was given on March 31st, and a sign was posted on March 29th. I did receive one comment or inquiry after the report was written. It was just a neighbor coming in seeking clarification on the application. So there are no public concerns have been expressed. So the recommendation is that the application be approved, subject to the conditions that are outlined in the report.
Thank you. I sense that the applicant or agent for the applicant is here. If I'm incorrect, my apologies. And I will ask, is there anyone in the audience in support of this application? Is there anyone here in opposition to this application? And is there anyone here seeking clarification to this application? And Jennifer, did you say I was correct or incorrect? Incorrect. No applicant here. All right. So there's no one here to speak to this application. So I'll turn to committee members. Questions? John, feel free. Microphone on if you can.
No. A motion to approve the application is consistent with the provincial planning statement, maintains the intent of both the County of Northumberland and Hamilton Township's official plans.
Thank you, John. Is there a seconder? Second by Larry. Thank you. Any further questions or comments from any other committee members? Seeing none, all those in favor? Carried. Thank you. Jennifer, do you need a moment or any additional information on this? Okay. Moving on to our next consent, which is actually our last consent today. It is application B 1623.
Yes.
Okay. As modified. It's in the Bickle name. And Jennifer, if you would, please feel free to go ahead and read the planning report.
Through you, Chairman Jib. This is application B 1623, which was previously considered by the Committee of Adjustment in February of 2024. At that time, the applicant was proposing the creation of a 3.5 hectare severed lot to be serviced by a driveway from County Road 18. The application has been amended to a 5.42 hectare property, which will bring the severed parcel down to the northern boundary of the property immediately south of the subject property. So the existing, there's your north and south for you. So the property will continue to be serviced by the existing private driveway over the adjacent property to the south. There is a legal easement over that parcel of land, and the driveway, County Road 18 driveway, will not service the subject property. During a review of the driveway options, Northumberland County indicated that they would not grant an entrance permit for the use of that driveway, and there were concerns over the use of the driveway from County Road 18. So the 26 hectare subject property, it's located on the east side of County Road 18. It has a tiny bit of frontage on County Road 18. The existing dwelling is accessed via an easement over the property located at 8362 Smiley Road. So they both have the same civic address. There's a unit 100 and 200 going on there. The property is developed with a single detached dwelling, detached garage, and a shed. There's a steep slope along the western boundary of the property. The slope is forested and rises to a plateau on which the existing dwelling and accessory buildings are located. There's cultivated fields at the top of the plateau, and another forested area is along the eastern side of the property. There's a water course that traverses the southeast corner of the subject property. So the property is designated rural in the township's official plan. Residential development and lot creation is permitted in the rural designation. In this case, they're proposing to sever off the existing dwelling, with the retained portion being the larger vacant area, and which would be eligible for a building permit subject to all of the normal building permit requirements, one of which is an entrance permit. Northumberland County reviewed some preliminary information provided by the applicant, and there's an indication that they would approve a driveway off the northern portion of the property. There is a steep slope there, so there are limited opportunities and sight lines for an entrance, but it's my understanding through correspondence with the county that they have agreed that there is an entrance location up there for a driveway. So the provincial planning statement contains policies regarding the protection of natural heritage resources. There's a water course in the southeast corner of the property, which would be considered a natural heritage resource. However, the severed lot is far enough away from that. It's already developed, and there's lots of land on the retained portion for the development of a single detached dwelling without the requirement for an environmental impact study. It's my understanding that the applicant is proposing to look at perhaps a building envelope on the northern portion of the property anyways. So it's well outside of any natural heritage area or natural hazard area. Natural hazard area associated with the water course. Ganaraska Region Authority commented that the proposed retained parcel contains regulated features and natural hazards, which are water course and a floodplain. However, there appears to be land outside of the regulated features for future development on the parcel. They did note that any development within the regulated area would require a permit from the Conservation Authority. Compliance with MDS, minimum distance separation guidelines, is mandated by the provincial planning statement as well as the township's official plan. No livestock facilities were identified in close proximity to the proposed severed lot. The provincial planning statement also requires protection of heritage properties and cultural heritage landscapes and archaeological resources. As noted with the previous applications we discussed, there is a property is within 300 meters of a water course, and an archaeological study is recommended for the proposed severances. In this case, the severed lot is outside of the severed lot is already developed. And the retained lot is quite large, but nonetheless, archaeological study is recommended. Northumberland County, its inspection services had no concerns regarding either the size of either the proposed severed or retained parcels. They did note that the county did not have any on-site sewage system records for the existing dwelling on the proposed retained lot, and they recommended that a condition be included in the decision that the applicant shall submit a plan to the County of Northumberland's satisfaction illustrating the location of the existing septic system to ensure that it will be sufficiently set back from the proposed severed lot. Given the size of the proposed severed lot, it is my guess that the proposed the existing septic system is located within that area, but the county does require that confirmation just to make sure. I have dealt with situations where we've had to do lot additions because somebody thought that their septic system was one place and it was actually someplace else. So we'd like to avoid those types of situations. The property is not located on the Oak Ridges Moraine, so the Oak Ridges Moraine Conservation Plan does not apply. The county official plan allows for lot creation. It's in rural areas and allows for lot creation consistent with the township's policies. And the township's official plan permits a maximum of 3 severances from a property as it existed in October of 2003. Both the severed and retained lots, rural lots, are permitted on lands designated in the township's official plan. The official plan contains the land division policies. Both the proposed retained and severed lots are of an appropriate size for the required private services. Now, ordinarily, we would not create a severed lot with such small frontage. However, this lot has been serviced by the existing driveway easement situation for a number of years. And it's an exception to the rule in this case. There have been no previous severances from this property since its current configuration, which existed in 2001. As I mentioned earlier, the official plan does allow for a maximum of 3 residential severances from the property as it existed on October 21st, 2003. So this will be the first severance from this property. The property zoned marginal agriculture and environmentally sensitive areas in the township zoning bylaw. The marginal agriculture zone permits a range of agricultural uses, including a single detached dwelling. The minimum lot area and frontage requirements for lots in the marginal agriculture zone are 2 hectares and 60 meters. Both the proposed severed and retained lots will comply with the lot area requirement. However, the severed lot will not comply with the frontage requirement, and as such, it will need to be rezoned because it doesn't meet the frontage requirement. The environmentally sensitive areas is an overlay zone. It applies to areas containing environmental features. Generally, it corresponds to the GRCA regulated area, and it will be retained on the property. The application was circulated to a number of agencies. The Ganaraska Region Conservation Authority had commented on the previous application that they had no objections with the proposed severance. Township of Hamilton Public Works commented that they have no objections to this application. They noted that if an entrance is proposed onto County Road 18, Northumberland County, entrance permit will be required. However, I noted earlier, the property is not going to be accessed by that County Road 18 frontage, and the existing easement will continue to be used. Hamilton Township Building Department had no objection. Hamilton Township Fire had no objection. Northumberland County commented that noting the easement will remain in place to support the new severance, they have no objection to that approach. The applicant is required to satisfy County Public Works regarding the provision of road widening across the frontage of the County Road 18. And the applicant is required to satisfy county inspection services regarding the provision of on-site sewage system records for the existing dwelling located on the retained parcel. So there are two conditions at the county's request. The one is with respect to the septic system, and the second is a road widening request, ensuring 18.25 meters from the center line of County Road 18. Those conditions were included in my recommendation. Notice of the application was circulated to all registered landowners within 60 meters of the property on March 31st, and a sign was posted on the property. I apologize. I changed the day, but I did not change the year in my report. The applications were circulated in 2026, not 2024. At the time the report was written, no public comments had been received. I did receive comments, or somebody came into the municipal office a couple days ago wondering if there was anything that could be done regarding the water that flows down the hill onto their property. However, it was noted that no new development is being proposed on the severed lots, and it's an existing topographic feature, and there's nothing with this application that can be done with respect to the water draining down the hill. A number of comments were received and prior to the previous public meeting dealing with they were predominantly dealing with the proposed driveway access off of County Road 18. That issue has been put aside now, and they're going to be using the existing entrance off of Smiley Road. So the recommendation is that the application be approved, subject to the conditions contained in the planning report.
Thank you, Jennifer. I will go to the audience and ask, other than owner applicant, is there anyone here in support of the application? Moving along, is there anyone here in opposition to the application? Again, anyone here in seeking clarification on the application? Please feel free. Please start over.
Kyle Boudreau. I live at 3461 Burnham. So I'm at where that goat path trail comes down to that driveway. And I've lived there for 5 years now. When we first moved in, it was just like a little ATV trail, farmer access road. And now they're using it as their main driveway. I just have a question, is if their main driveway now is going out to Smiley Road, what are they using that one for?
I believe that's a staff question, but of course it is existing. Is there any, and I'll add to your question.
Yeah, sure.
For staff, is there any information from the county on that future usage? And I'll turn to staff on that, please.
Certainly, through you, Chairman Gibb. The applicants are to be using the Smiley Road as the entrance for this property. I believe Northumberland County did a record search and could not find that there has been an entrance permit for the County Road 18 location, and that they wouldn't be issuing a entrance permit for a driveway at that location. So it's my understanding, and the applicant is here. When I drove past the property several times over the course of the winter, I didn't see that the driveway had been
It
used.
wasn't, but the snow's gone now and now it's being used. Now
Okay,
that all the vegetation's gone, it just runs mud down. As today, the rain, there's no grass left because obviously they drive on it.
We may not be able to answer your question right now, but we may in a minute or two be able to send that question towards the applicant and or
Sure.
agent.
And it's also the traffic running behind my property as we sit in the backyard. I mean, when they have the driveway coming in off of Smiley.
We'll keep that question
Sure.
for a minute. Do you have any other questions or comments?
No, that's it.
Okay. I can actually respond. I don't know, maybe Bruce can as well, but I can state that that has been used as a driveway inconsistently, but been used as a driveway for at least 60 years. And the former owner of the property on the top of the hill was a gentleman by the name of Olaf Snellgrove. And we would use that driveway to go there when the conditions allowed, which wasn't necessarily year round. Anyway, we'll come back to hopefully getting an answer for you on that question.
Thank you.
Thank you. Please. It may be part of why we had issues there before. Okay, anyone else in the audience seeking clarification? Okay. I'll start over. You're not legally obligated to answer that question. However, we are open and certainly approachable here. We have been asked that question by a neighbor, a future neighbor of the two properties. Would you consider answering that question, and would you like to make any other comments on the property and the application that's before us?
Drew Macklin from Coburg. I'm acting as the agent on this for the property owner through you, Mayor Jib. Yeah, it's like you said, it's been a seasonal access for as long as can be remembered. I imagine it'll be continued to be used as a seasonal access. Just as it's a lot more proximal to the house, it's probably easier to get up and down there when the weather permits, as opposed to the one off Smiley Road. And then in terms of the conditions or requirements for approval, one is the archaeological study. We ask that if possible, that be waived or put on hold until it's determined where the new dwelling will go on the retained parcel. Because if it's not anywhere close to the 300 meters from the little bit of creek that crosses the very southeastern corner, it would seem like a terrible expense to go through when it's not impacted or within range of that area at all, if possible. Thank you.
Understood. And thank you for the clarification on the driveway seasonal usage. I guess, Jennifer, I must turn to you. Condition on the retained of reporting. How can we address that consideration?
Through you, Chairman Jib, are you referring to the archaeology study?
Yes.
Okay. If you look at the map that's up on the screen right now, there's a water course in the southeast corner of the property. And then there's a water course on the opposite side of County Road 18 that's in closer proximity to the northern portion of the property. So there is it's within 300 it would be within 300 meters. There may be a portion in the middle of the property where it wouldn't be within 300 meters, but it's hard to tell. One of the options that you could do is the property has to be rezoned. The severed parcel has to be rezoned. Right now, our consent applications aren't circulated to Alderville First Nation because we're not required to. Zoning bylaw amendment applications are required to be circulated to Alderville First Nation. When we circulate the zoning bylaw amendment application that's going to be required to Alderville First Nation, they will flag, well, typically they flag anything within 300 meters of a water course requiring an archaeology study. If we wanted to, we could recommend that the retained portion be rezoned to a marginal agriculture holding zone, requiring the completion of an archaeology study if the proposed severed or the proposed building envelope will be within 300 meters of a water course. However, taking that approach will, if they don't build within 300 meters, they will then have to apply to lift the holding provision from that property. So it will be another expense and another, it's not a public application. It's an application. It's not another public circulation, but it is another meeting that you have to attend and that another application, and there are application fees for that. So that's one way that you can do it. It's just, I know that there's going to be another set of eyeballs on the zoning bylaw amendment application when it comes forward. And archaeology is at the top of the list for that.
Microphone's still yours. Please ensure it's on.
If at the time that we apply for the rezoning, if on the retained parcel, we had the driveway and building site defined at that point, could we address it all in one shot, potentially?
Yes, I'm still concerned that we're going to get the comment from Alderville First Nation because the property will be within 300 meters. So it will be up to council at that point in time. But if you came to if you came with your zoning bylaw amendment application that identified a building envelope on the retained portion that's outside of the 300 meter setback from both of the water courses, we would have to include special zone provisions on that property, because if we just rezoned it and you gave us a picture that showed a building envelope and then you took that away and you came in for a building permit application that didn't comply with those and we didn't put anything in zoning, then they would still have to issue a building permit for it, right? But if we set setbacks such that it established a building envelope, like a minimum setback of 30 meters from the property line to the east and 120 meters from the property line to the west and 200 meters from the property line to the north, then we could establish a building envelope. I'm just concerned that when you come with a zoning bylaw amendment application, that will still have that comment, notwithstanding the submission of that.
Jennifer, we seem to be talking about the building envelope as development. Is there any consideration that the driveway, which is heading to the north to County Road 18, is there any consideration that the development word gets used for driveway and would trigger this regardless? Because if that's the case, this is a moot point. If in fact it is not considered development, then what we've been discussing comes back on the table. And I suggest that I have a bit of wording that I would like you to consider that might simplify this, if we can get past that word of development.
I think for the purposes of the archaeology study, site disturbance is what they look at. They don't necessarily look at development, which the definition under the provincial planning statement is lot creation or building permit application, that kind of thing. When you're talking archaeology, it's generally site disturbance. So it could trigger, the driveway itself could trigger it.
You're leading me down the road that disturbance driveway is going to trigger this. Even still, could we? Let me see if I can word this off the top of my head. Condition 9, that an archaeological site assessment be prepared by a qualified professional and submitted for review as deemed necessary by, and then put in whatever agency is. In other words, if they don't deem it necessary, it doesn't have to happen. If they deem it necessary, because of the driveway, because of the building site location, our applicant is obligated to do that. Is that a possible option?
That's a possible option. We would have to decide right now under the Ministry of Citizenship and Multiculturalism checklist, which is the checklist we have to look at to see if we think one archaeological study is required. It is required. If we put it, I don't know if you want to give that type of, did you mean to say, is it necessary by Alderville First Nation?
If that's the agency or the local agency having authority and jurisdiction, then I would go to that, yes. What I'm trying to do is provide an opportunity. We don't have to do multiple applications. We don't have to do a holding zone. We can solve this today if in fact it's needed, or we can solve this today if in fact it's not needed by selective wording within this condition. In all fairness, I don't want anybody in this municipality to go through a study if it's truly not needed. That's where my mind goes to at the baseline. If an applicant is in a position where the rules and regulations dictate that a study is needed, well, my history here would say you need to do that, whether you like it or not. So I just want to create an environment here that our applicant is not trapped by something that might not be needed.
I understand where you're coming from, and I don't like unnecessary studies that aren't going to be looked at and that just sit on shelves and get dusty. I try to avoid those at every opportunity. In this case, we could add as deemed necessary by the appropriate agency or public authority. I'm not sure that Alderville First Nation is considered an agency or public authority, but they are the organization that is most significantly interested and impacted by archaeological studies within our municipality. And if you look at we have resources where we can look at archaeology, where they have found archaeological sites within our municipality. And it is actually quite interesting because we have a lot of water courses too. You follow the water courses, and the water courses are generally within proximity to, or the archaeological sites are sort of follow lines along the water courses. So it's really challenging. What we could do in order to scope it as tightly as possible, an archaeological site assessment for the proposed building envelope. And then you just, instead of doing an archaeology study on a great big property, they do an archaeology study on the building envelope. Because what they're concerned, the concerns for archaeological studies are the disturbance of archaeological resources. So if you just do the archaeology study for the building envelope, then you're doing an archaeology study on maybe a hectare instead of 19.46 hectares. So it's smaller.
Could we stay with the building envelope as deemed necessary by its location and proximity to 300 meters or whatever it is? In other words, if there's a spot right there where it says concession 4 that's outside of the limit from both streams, do we truly need to do an archaeological study? And my position is no.
Okay,
So if you want to,
sure.
I mean, I was going to keep the driveway in, but you're eliminating it in your verbiage.
Yeah.
So I'm good with that. I mean, I should look back to our applicant and owner here, but anyway, again, if deemed necessary by its location. I mean, like, again, I look at the word concession 4. I'm saying that's more than 300 meters away from wherever we need to be for the trigger point. So again, that's wording within our motion. And I seem to be leading this part of the conversation without my fellow committee members. So when we kind of get close to what might work, we'll engage applicant and owner, and then we'll come back to committee members and see where we end here. And at this point in time, someone's going to have to tell me, do we have a motion on the floor or not? Because I'm confused as to where
No.
we're at.
Okay, so I think the wording that I'm hearing now is that an archaeological site assessment for the proposed building envelope be prepared by a qualified professional and submitted for review as deemed necessary by the appropriate authority.
I'm good with that from my own engagement. I'm going to hesitate there. I'm going to come back to the gentleman at the back of the room. I'm getting a thumbs up. So I'm assuming there's no more verbiage coming from the back. So I'll go to committee members. Larry, you want to go first?
Okay, so I'm going to ask a couple of questions. With regards to the existing driveway off of County Road 18, in your summation, are you suggesting that that be closed permanently?
I neither have authority or jurisdiction. It is strictly county.
Okay, well then my next question is that, do I understand that the county has not given an approval for an entryway there? Or a permit for an entryway there?
That is correct.
So that really doesn't exist in the county's mind. And my other question is there existing road off of Smiley Road on the right of way to the property that's going to be built on? Is that correct?
Does the right of way? No, that's the right of way off of Smiley Road will service the severed lot. The county has indicated that there is potential for an entrance for the retained parcel. That's the vacant parcel, the 19.46 hectare retained parcel off the northern portion of the property. So they can get a driveway for the retained portion off the northern area of the property.
So access to the property that we're talking about is from where?
County Road 18.
I thought,
Okay,
Can I help?
you can help.
show me where I don't even
Have you
see
got
the
your
road.
screen there? I'll use some colors as an example.
Yeah, well, you know, that's going to work.
Oh, yeah. The property identified as 5.42 hectares.
Yeah.
Is where the existing house is.
Right.
And has been, as they say, I was there
I know.
60 years ago, and the access we used was the driveway from County Road 18 behind this couple's house right here. Been there as a driveway
Got that. I
prior to
understand.
any county records issuing entrance permits. The red portion, John, help,
Yeah, I
is
got it.
19.46 hectares. And the county are saying that a driveway can be considered from the north,
Yeah.
coming south. The right of way across the property on Smiley Road to the 5.42 hectares is a right of way that's going to go with that chunk of ground.
So the current property that we're talking about that we want to approve is that 5.42 hectares. That is the only access point to that property. Okay. So there is access off of Smiley Road here?
By means of a right of way.
Right, and that's what I just said.
Yeah.
So why are we going to be using that access off County Road 18 if they are not given access by the county?
Because it's an existing access. It's been there for 60 years. It's an issue between the county and the property owner. They
Well, then
can't state they have an entrance permit for it because they didn't issue entrance permits when that driveway went in there.
So then I would deem that as being an illegal entry point off County Road 18.
No, legal non-complying.
Okay, well, we already have a situation that we have where we have a road that was aligned where that was given by the county off of County Road 18 in Harwood. And then the existing property owner is now accessing that property off of a right of way or a, what do you call it? Not a right of way, but the Sully Road north, I guess it is. And he's been using that access. And it's a contentious issue because he's not using the proper entryway off of County Road 18. And we can't seem to solve that problem. What I'm concerned about is that this narrow goat trail, as you call it, that everybody's been using for over 100 years, I'm sure, is still not a good way to get onto that property or, you know, provides a lot of issues onto County Road 18 and for the existing property owners. So I'm saying that the property owner does have access to the property that's planned for or is there now. And why do we need to continually use the goat trail or the access to off of County Road 18? Because it seems to me we've had problems with this property in the past, and I'm not going to discuss those because it's not a part of this issue. But I think we have an opportunity to say, do we actually need to have that property accessed off of County Road 18? That's my question.
I know what you're going to say, so go ahead.
Okay, I don't think you do, but we'll see. The easement was put in place in 2002. So it's been in effect for about 24 years now. And that easement was applied for by the previous owners of the property who owned both the northern and southern portions. So they own the property, the subject property we're talking about, and the property that the easement goes over. They own both of those properties. Those properties merged on title. And at that point, that is when they created the easement because they had a driveway off of Smiley Road through their property that goes all the way up. But then they applied for severance in about 2002 to sever the northern portion from the southern portion. And that's when they put the easement. And in the easement application, it was stated that the easement was required because the County Road 18 entrance, they didn't use it. It was dangerous and it wasn't suitable for all conditions. That's why they had the easement. So that's a little bit of background about how that easement took place. The previous owners owned both the parcels. They got it divided for, I guess it was a technical severance. And then they created the easement over the southern portion. And in their application, they said that this was to be their main driveway. Now, whether or not that prohibited them from using the other driveway, I don't think there's anything that legally says they cannot use it. Whether the county has any mechanism to remove that, that is beyond my scope. The county has requested road widening with this application for 18.25 meters from the center line of County Road 18. So it will be taking a portion of that entrance as it is, or that driveway as it is. I don't know if they have a mechanism. They did indicate that they wouldn't issue an entrance permit for it, and that they have no history of an entrance permit being issued for it. But again, it probably predates the record keeping system.
My only point is that if they're going to have an access off of Smiley Road to the property that we're talking about, that would be sufficient. And having two entrances to that property, albeit historical significance, it's irrelevant to the existing property. And I think with the issues that we've had in the past with these type of situations, that we should make it clear that that entranceway off County Road 18 should be, I believe, closed up and use the proper access that they have to their property deemed necessary off of Smiley. That's my only point of clarity.
I'll personally ask a question in response to that, but it would be unfair of me to direct that question to yourself. I will direct it to staff. Based on the fact it's an existing driveway of record, albeit without a permit, probably for the reasons that when that was established as a driveway, there was no permit process. It is a county road, not a municipal township road, which is all the background to my question, which is what authority or jurisdiction do we as a committee of adjustment have to say to this applicant, you can no longer use that road or driveway? It may be very logical, and I support Larry, be very logical to not use it most of the time, maybe all of the time. But my question is, what authority or jurisdiction do we have that we could say, Mr. Applicant, you cannot use that? Not your way, Jennifer.
Sure are. Sure are. I don't know if the committee has the authority to include as a condition of consent that would be abandoned. I don't know that you have that authority. I don't know.
Coming back to our people that asked for clarification. I've been to their property. I have spoken to them. I have seen their concerns. I understand their concerns. But it comes down for me to what do we have authority to do and not do? And that's why I asked the question. It would be wonderful if the applicant stood up and said, I don't need it, I don't want it, but they're not obligated to say or do that. John, do you have a question? Comment?
Just comment. I agree with Member Williamson. The problem I have is there been an actual engineer's study been done on this little pathway? Because if they're going to accommodate vehicles from years gone by, that's fine. But vehicles today are a lot wider. If you're going to put heavy equipment up there or whatever you're going to put up that roadway, it's not going to be sufficient to hold that ground that's going to be on. So you're going to have washout coming down that road all the time, especially if it's being used up and down there. It's going to get ruts. It's going to have overlay where it's going to come down on the people's property, which it is right now. So has there been an engineer study done on this to make sure it is applicable to a roadway?
I don't know the answer to that. I don't know. I would suggest there's not. No. I would suggest there's not. I would also suggest
You can,
What?
let me take it.
Okay,
This application dates back to 2023. We haven't been, it hasn't idly 2023. There have been, the applicant has retained an engineer to undertake a study on the safety of that road and the applicability of that road. Ultimately, at the end of the day, we have ended up at this, in where we are now, recommending that that not be used for the driveway and that the existing Smiley Road driveway be used. So the applicant did have an engineer, he reviewed it, they did design, they took truck up, fire truck can't go, but Northumberland County Emergency Services said that they would not use it. The township's engineer reviewed it and said it's okay for existing driveway, not recognizing that it wasn't actually used consistently for a driveway. So there has been a lot of work that went on trying to get that road to be used as the main entrance. And ultimately, at the end of the day, the county said would not issue an entrance permit for a drive at this location. And town staff felt that the best approach would be to take extend the severed lot down to the existing easement and retain the existing easement for the driveway. So have undertaken an engineering review. There's illustrations where they showed I think it was a water truck going up the road. That being said, at the end of the day, staff and the county decided that wasn't appropriate at that location.
glad you stopped me to get that information correctly. John?
Just to follow up, I confer with Jennifer that that's probably correct. Because I'm concerned about emergency vehicles. I'm concerned about anybody else going up there and all of a sudden having an accident, falling off the edge, whatever it may be. And that's my main concern is the emergency services personnel. I'd hate to see them not get up that hill and then somebody sue us because the fact they couldn't get there. And that's the usual norm of today's society. So I feel it's necessary that we, the engineer's report come forward. It says no. And I think on the portion of Hamilton Township, we have to go by that study. And as far as I'm concerned, in the Hamilton Township portion, if it says no, then we say no. Not at the county level, if they want to say yes, that's fine, but we say no. So if they want to drive their vehicle 2 feet off the county road, that's fine. But as far as if it's a municipality, I say no.
Jennifer?
Through you, Chairman Jib, their engineer report did not say no. Their engineer's report said it was okay. Fire services said that no, they can't get their big trucks up there, but we just have agreements where we can't service that area. And ambulance services were the ones that said that that wouldn't accept it. So that's why we are where we are after extensive discussions and trying to figure out how to make the driveway work. At the end of the day, staff were confident. The applicant did provide an engineering study and the consultant said it was fine. Believe I've got that correct. If I don't have it correct, the applicant and his agent are here. I think that's a overview of where we are today and why it's taken so long to this application. Staff recognize that the Smiley Road entrance is the safest entrance into this property.
And the Smiley Road is going to be the civic address used for this severed parcel. And when we call for emergency services, that will be the description. We won't be saying just go to the goat path off of County Road 18 and head up over the hill in the switchback that you can't get there safely, we're going to be saying this is, and I'm sure I got it in front of me somewhere, X, Y, and Z, Smiley Road, Unit 100. From the committee perspective, do we have any other comments or questions? Mark, please.
I have to say, I share the same concerns that the other two committee members have brought forward, but I'm realizing that there's a lot we can do. If they were both our roads, we could, but when one's county and one's ours, we're limited. I do have a little concern though, dealing with the archaeological study. You've mentioned the building envelope. Building envelope, what is included in building envelope then? Just so that I'm clear, is that septic, is that well, and is that driveway or not? Because I always consider a driveway part of a building envelope. I'd be surprised if it's not.
From a planning perspective, I usually associate your building envelope with being your house, your on a typical property, your house, your well, your septic, your yard area that you include. In the grand sense of the word, building envelope could be sometimes they just take the setbacks from all of the properties and say the whole thing is building envelope, but that's what we're referring to in this. In this case, we're referring to the area where they're going to have house. There are any accessory structure that they're proposing, the well, their septic. I don't usually include, this is my shortcoming. I usually include the driveway. It's a big long driveway. In your building envelope, I consider it where you've got your house, your septic, and your well. A detached garage, if a detached garage, that sort of thing. But we can include the driveway in it, and if we include the driveway in, we'll be within 300 meters of the Northern Water Course.
I'd just like to say that I've never, it's an area that's going to be disturbed.
Yeah.
So if it's getting disturbed, I always figure that's part of your building envelope. So I don't know how it cannot be included.
Okay, can we stay with the driveway and just go back to that archaeological wording? So that if it's deemed necessary in the development, and that includes driveway, then it's gonna fall in. Can we just get our wording right there? I think we
Okay.
already have it, but we'll check it.
That an archaeological site assessment for the building envelope, including driveway, okay, that an archaeological site assessment be prepared for the building envelope, including driveway, be prepared by a qualified professional and submitted for review as deemed necessary by the appropriate authority. The applicant must provide acknowledgement of the submission of the assessment to the Ministry of Citizenship and Multiculturalism.
Okay, so the key word is as deemed necessary.
Yes.
Okay, so that's the option in, that's the option out. If it's not necessary, it's not being done. If it is necessary, whether that be a trigger point of driveway, whether that be trigger point of septic or house, it's in as deemed necessary. So that's an in and an out. That's optional. Coming back to the driveway. Any further questions or comments on the driveway? The existing driveway. I mean, obviously you've heard me speak. My position is it's an existing driveway. Yes, it's a goat path. No, it's not going to be used for emergency vehicles. 911 is off of Smiley. I accept the fact of our next door neighbors having concerns of runoff. Absolutely. So my question is, where are we at in relationship to how we want to make this motion? We've kind of got to conclude this, unfortunately. Prepared motion is been modified with the archaeological, but the prepared motion is that application B 1623 by Rachel Bickle to sever a parcel of land for the creation of a new developed rural lot, part lot 19, concession 4 be approved, subject to the conditions. And the only condition that's different than what we have in front of us on paper or on screen, if it was pulled up, is the one about the archaeological that says as deemed necessary. Any further questions or comments? Okay, so that's the motion that I've just read. Do we have a mover for that? I'll ask again, do we have a mover for that prepared written motion? Moved by Bruce. Do we have a seconder to that motion? And second. Okay, opportunity for follow-up questions and comments. Is there any? Okay, seeing none. I mean, I guess maybe I'll ask one. I'll ask it to our gentleman at the back. You've answered the question once about seasonal usage of that driveway. You can see how the committee has struggled. You can understand, I don't know all of you in the back there, but I'm assuming that you've understood the concern of the neighbor and runoff. Is there anything further that you would like to add to the committee information prior to this vote on the motion? I look, Mr. Macklin, you're the agent. You've been to the microphone before. Is there anything further you'd like to add or comment on?
I don't know if this is my place or not. The only thing I can suggest, listening to the back and forth, was potentially the applicant, the property owner, his intent is to obviously build on the retained portion up on the hill. I don't know if it's possible, but maybe on change of possession of the severed piece, that the access could be closed at that point. Obviously, he's enjoyed that entry point off of County Road 18 for the time that he's been there. When the new buyer takes possession, perhaps from then forward, it could be closed. It's just an idea. I don't know if we have the ability to do that or not.
That's beyond the scope of this committee at this point in time, obviously. If the present owner would consider that at time of sale, I'm sure there's the neighborhood that would be very pleased to have that happen. Okay, so we do have a motion on the floor. It's been seconded. It's approved with a modified condition on the heritage study. I'm going to call the vote. All those in favor? All those opposed? Okay, I guess it comes down to a one-person vote, and that would be me, and I would have to support the motion that I read previously. And I'll simply follow that up by saying, I understand your concerns, and I sincerely hope to our present owner that you will endeavor to make this better for your neighbors as we move forward from today. Albeit that is not mandatory from this committee. It's just a request from a old guy sitting up here in chair's position. Okay, so it's been moved, seconded, and approved. Moving on in our agenda. Oh, it obviously is with the conditions set forward, Jennifer, as you well know. No other business, adjournment. 3:43. Motion reads that the Committee of Adjustment meeting held on April 14th, 2026 be adjourned at 3:43. All those in favor? Oh, I shouldn't say that. I should get a mover and a seconder. Sorry. Moved by Larry, seconded by Mark. All those in favor? Carrie, thank you.